Have you ever wondered how people create these realistic bases for their minis? Well, today I'm going to show you how I made this one using only cork, rocks, skulls, and one material that you probably already have without even realizing it. Stay tuned to find out what it is. This right here is a cork sheet that I grabbed off of Amazon. Nothing fancy, just cheap, thin cork that comes in a pack of dozen or so. I'll link the exact one I used below, but honestly, any thin cork like this should do the trick. Now, really, what I'm doing here is I'm just taking my X-Acto knife and I'm making a rough outline around the base of the Mini, making sure that I have a piece of, styrofoam or just like a piece of cardboard or something like that underneath it so that you're not cutting up the table underneath. Trust me, I learned that the hard way. And all we're doing is making a rough outline. Don't worry about it being too neat. We're going to be using some clippers later to make sure that we make it look like a more natural, realistic terrain. Now, the reason that cork is so good for basing is because it tears and layers in a way that mimics real stone and natural terrain. You can stack it, break it, carve into it, and it ends up looking just like rubble, slate, or shattered concrete. And all of that without needing like a realistic 3D printer or molds or anything like that. Now that we're done with the outline, all we gotta do is pop it right out and place it on top of the actual base itself. Next up is to grab your glue and stick it to the base. Now you can use any kind of glue you want. I'm using super glue just to ensure that it stays there, but in my last video for the bloat drone, I also used some PVA glue to stick it on here and it works just fine. So all you're gonna wanna do is just make sure you cover the entire base with the glue and then set it right on top. Now, once we finally have our actual bottom part of the base completed, all we're going to be doing is taking that exact same cork sheet and we're just going to break off a chunk from the top of it. This is why I love using cork so much. It's so easy to manipulate and turn it exactly the way that you want it to. So just grab a chunk from it, peel off the sides here, make it look like a more realistic terrain, and we're just going to place it right on top of here. Using the same exact super glue as before, we're just going to put a little bit of glue on it and we're going to stick it right on. After that, I peel off one more little bitty chunk to put on top of the one that we just placed. And then we're just going to stick it right on top of there like so. And then here's what they look like all layered up. Now what we don't want on the Mini is a little bit of overhang. So I'm going to be using some of these clippers here that we use to cut the sprues off for the Minis. And I'm just going to go all the way around and clip off all the rugged edges. Doing this is also kind of giving us more of a realistic texture instead of just being flat. After I finished trimming the edges of the base, I thought that maybe it could use a little oomph up front, so I kind of peeled off another piece of cork and just set it up top as well. Next up here, we're going to take another little thin piece of cork, put a little bit of glue on here, and we're going to set it sideways just to give it a more realistic terrain look. Now this right here is the material that you guys probably already have. All you gotta do is cut up some sprues from the sprue kits and stuff from the minis that we're painting, and all you do is just clip that off, stick it into the cork, or you can glue it to the cork. I highly recommend doing that. But it gives it kind of a little bit of a different shape whenever you look at the whole picture. Makes it stand out just a little bit. These are really good for if you want some sort of like rebar look, or just a little bit of metal laying around in the battlefield. This wouldn't be as fun of a hobby if we couldn't get creative sometimes, right? Next up, we're going to be applying a little bit more glue all around the base. So we're going to be adding some rocks to it. Now, I got these rocks from a hobby store, just in like a little pack, but you can literally just go outside and get some actual rocks and put them around. It gives kind of this exact same effect. Now, once you've got your terrain set up exactly how you want it, we need to seal it. And with that, we're going to be using PVA glue. So what we're going to do is we're going to apply the PVA glue all around the base to make sure that it seeps down in there and prevents it from chipping. Because as you could probably tell earlier on in the video, using cork, it's very brittle. So we need to protect it in a way because whenever we get to actually painting the Mini itself, over time, just working around it, little pieces are going to chip off, and we don't want that. We just spent so much time making this. So we're just going to apply it all over the place, take a brush that we really don't care about, and lather it in. Now, once it's done drying, it's going to look a little bit like this, kind of sticky and a little glossy, but that just means it's ready for us to prime it. Now, I primed this with Chaos Black from Citadel, And this is what it looks like after it's done. Now that we're ready for the actual painting part of this, we're going to be using a little bit of Xandri dust, and we're going to be applying that with a dry brush all around the jagged edges that the cork naturally gives us around the base. So we're going to be using this and catching all the sides and the tops and these little fake rocks that we put on there earlier, just to give the overall base a little bit more character and some color. Now, if you aren't sure what dry brushing is, all we're doing is we're taking a brush like this, we're going to put a little bit of paint on it, and then on a tissue or a paper towel or whatever it is that you use, we're going to basically wipe off all of the paint off of the brush, leaving just a little bit left. That way, whenever we go over this, we're not just splattering the paint all over the place. It's only coming off really on the jagged areas that actually catch the bristles. Once you're done dry brushing it all to your liking, it's going to look a little bit something like this for me, and that just means that we're ready to move on to the next step. Now we're going to add a lot of skulls to this base. As you could probably tell from the thumbnail, this base is going to be for my first ever World Eaters mini that's going on here. So blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne, obviously. And all we're going to do is just be clipping these out and super gluing them all over the base. Now the reason that I didn't put these on beforehand is because I had already gone in and primed these skulls in Wraithbone. So I'm just cutting them straight off the sprues and placing them on there. Now, I was going to say that I went a little overboard with the skulls on this, but that would be a lie. I think this turned out great. So add as many as you'd like. Remember when I said blood for the blood god a second ago? Well, we're going to be using that actual technical paint, and we are just going to glob that straight out of the pot all over the base. Now, this didn't go as easy as I thought it was going to go. I thought that blood for the blood god would maybe stay that consistency that you're seeing right now all over the place, but it did not. So I was just pretty much constantly dipping into the pot and digging out just more globs of it and placing it all over the place. So do that and add as much blood as your heart desires. Not forgetting to go back and touch up on the skulls just a little bit, just to give it a little bit more of a weathered look for them. And now that we're done, it's looking pretty great and ready to place the mini on top. I hope everybody really enjoyed this nice, fast, easy tutorial on how to make some cork bases. As you can tell, my next model is Lord Invocatus from the World Eaters chapter. He is going to also be my next video, so stay tuned and check that out. As you can see, I've already done a little bit of prep work on him that's not from the actual box itself. If you liked the video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. It really helps me out. Other than that, my name's Nate, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.